Hey people, how are you doing? It's me Max again, and you're watching Maxed Out Saas channel, where we build stuff. So, yesterday, we set up Google Analytics, okay? And I've already taken a look at, at the dashboard, and I can see the data is flowing. Obviously, not a lot of users tried it for like apparent reasons because this website, this application hasn't been advertised anywhere. So probably once we finish these two features, right, set up monitoring and ask for non-essential consent, I will actually burn some budget. I don't know, maybe 50 or 100 bucks to just on Google Ads, just to hurt some people, just to create some funnel, okay? And then we'll see if at least some people will finish the whole flow, and then we'll see how the funnel looks like and that sort of stuff. So actually, the only thing that stops us from taking this as done is connecting the consent dialog with Google Analytics. Right now we have a consent dialog and we have Google Analytics, but they function separately. Okay, now we have to bind them together. So whenever a user clicks accept all and I give my consent, we initialize Google Analytics and vice versa. So I think we began doing this yesterday, but I don't think we finished it. So maybe let's review the change list. And one thing, when I opened Cursor ID today in the morning, they had this alert like ChatGPT 5 or GPT-5 model is now released, and it has a bigger context window, as you can see, like 272K context window. And they claim that this is the fastest, is the most intelligent model they've ever tested so far. And I'm quite intrigued, I should say, because it's like, what, 30%? Is it 30%? Yeah, 30% bigger context window is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Okay, and maybe we can use GPT-5 fast because the first week is going to be free for paid users, and I'm a paid user. So yeah, let's just see how this goes. Let's start with reviewing the changed lists from yesterday. We'll start with config. So what was that again? Okay, so there's now a callback. Oh, I see. So it ignored the general callback, the global callback. And maybe we can remove it for now. And it uses specific Google callback from Google Analytics. That's cool. That's cool. And it says if consent, then window Google Analytics is true, right? It sets a new variable. And then it dispatches an event, right? It says this thing. And otherwise, it sets it at false. And again, it sends the same custom event. If GTAG is already loaded, disable analytics. Why though? Interesting. So it kind of... Okay. So there is a probability that Google Analytics is loaded, right? And it figures this out based on GTAG. If you remember yesterday, there was a method of setting up Google Analytics directly in, okay, I lost this page, but directly inside of the HTML, right? We would, maybe it's over here now. Well, we use our Next.js wrapper, and it's wrapped right now with a React component. But there is a way of injecting Google Analytics directly into HTML, right? Under the head tag in your root page. And then there is a G tag setup. So what it does over here, it checks for this G tag, and if it's not undefined, consent update analytics storage denied. I'm not sure what this is, by the way. Like, how do we even test it? If G tag is already loaded, disable analytics. Why would it be loaded? I don't think we need this. So we'll go to config, because there is no way of this being loaded, because we don't load this directly in HTML, right? We'll go through this in a minute, right? As you can see, so this is the main application layout. And what we did yesterday is wrap Google Analytics initialization into conditional analytics. Let's drop into it, can we? And as you can see, we use Google Analytics wrapper from Next.js. And over here, we just listen to check consent, handle consent change. Okay. Yeah, as you can see, we listen to the events we sent from layout. No, not here. Config. Yep, over here. We send a custom event. And then in the conditional analytics component, we listen to this event and we handle the consent like this, right? The only thing that I'm confused about is set analytics window, Google, it does not read set analytic consent, and then it negates it. Why does it negate it? So first it sets true in window. And then dispatches. Let's go through one branch, right? So let's say user gives their analytics. Global flag is true. Then we send an event. Then we catch this event over here, and then we handle it, and then we negate it. Set analytics, and then we negate the flag, right? So now it's false. And then we set analytics consent, right? Use state. And then this is not okay, but we only use this as state. Set analytics consent. Okay, use state. And then what? Where do we check consent, by the way? Type of window is undefined, and window Google Analytics consent is true. And set analytics consent true. Okay, but where do we read this? Return Google Analytics. Okay, this is messed up, right? So first thing, I don't see that there's any condition, right? So he kind of juggles. Oh, okay. If not analytics consent, where is this? If not analytic consent, return no. Okay, and otherwise return. Okay, so there is a branching out. And when is this field not true? Okay, let's just input conditional analytics. I just want to see and over here we would say otherwise. I just want to see if this mechanism works altogether, right? Analytics consent is free, rendering Google Analytics components. Okay. Cool. Now let's see this. Let's try this out. Boom. Okay, let's load this. All right, let's see the console output. Okay, so basically we return our Google Analytics wrapper. Nice. Let's now local storage. Let's delete this thing. There's no consent given right now. We update. Okay. Interesting. Pharaoh. Did it just remember everything? Can I remove everything? Okay. Now he asks for Google Analytics, right? Analytics consent is false, not rendering. Okay, that's good. Google Analytics consent false. Service Google Analytics consent false. Okay, so basically when I click that's okay. Perfect. Actually, I was not right. Now I see that everything is rendering correctly and we're rendering Google Analytics components. Okay, perfect. Let's go through the code once again and understand what's happening and in which order does it happen. So we check consent first, right? What does it do? No, actually, when we execute this component, or actually, I'm not going to assume how this works. I'll just going to ask the superior GPT model, like, explain how this mechanism works in steps, and what is the execution order. I don't have to guess. Okay, so it immediately hooks up all of the classes that are connected to this, right? So what does it say? How does it work? How does it work conceptually? Claro config defines consent plus callback. Okay. And then creates window Claro config. Okay. And a service callback for Google Analytics that sets window Google Analytics consent and dispatches. All right. Event. Okay. This happens from the callback. And then scripts load Claro with that config, right? Inside of the layout.js, yep. Loads the config first, Claro CSS, then Claro script. Okay, cool. But I'm more interested in page load, yes. Head injects script styles in order. Config, public config JS defines window Claro config. Okay. Initializes using data config equals. Oh man, like I only two common scenario. Yeah, let's just jump to the gist of it. To the essence of it. First time visitor, no prior consent. Step 1 free run. Execution. Okay, app hydrate and mounts. Okay. Is window Google Analytics consent is undefined. J not rendered. Okay. 1 through 3 steps, right? Head inject scripts. Claro initializes consent state. Okay. App hydrates and mounts. Conditional analytics mounts and immediately checks with Google Analytics consent. If it's truthy, is that a word? Analytics consent becomes true. The component subscribes to Google Analytics consent change. Okay. User accepts analytics and Claro service callback sets the flag and dispatches an event. Component re-renders and GA loads. Component re-renders. Okay. I wanted to concentrate on this thing. So I want you to focus on this code specifically. What happens when a new event comes in and when an event comes in and what else? Maybe let's start with this simple question. Okay, the component has registered a one-time window listener in its effect, which is this thing, right? Event fires on window, okay. Handle consent chain runs and reads window. Handle, okay. React re-renders. If true, okay. when does the component re-renders? Check state. So initial render when component mounts, well obviously. Re-render after mount. If check consent set state because Windows truthing from the first effect run. At this point, I'm just trying to understand this life cycle of this React component, right? Because there's a bunch of callbacks bound together, and this is not how mobile code usually works. I mean, this is not how backend code usually works. This is a specific JavaScript paradigm, as I understand it. And now I'm just trying to compute it in my head. Re-render after mount. If check consent set state because window Google Analytics consent is truthy from the first effect run. Re-render and consent event. Whenever Google Analytics consent change fires and handle consent change, sets a different boolean than the current. Okay, that's interesting. Re-render on consent events. So maybe I misread this piece. Does it negate the set value when every time when it receives an event? Whoop, over here. Oh, okay. That's just me being a dummy in JavaScript. So this is not a negation. This is not a negation expression. This is converts it to a strict boolean with, okay. Okay. Obviously, I need a lesson on how JavaScript works. Converts any value to a strict boolean. Oh, wow. True, 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 true. Okay. Now I see. Now I see. That's what was causing confusion for me. Like, I thought it always negates the whatever Boolean flag is set in the global flag. Okay. Yeah. That's what happens when you don't know the language and trying to make an application. You always learn as you go. But that's okay. That's okay. Cool, 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 cool. I don't need this. This one. Probably I don't need this as well. This was just for debugging. What else did I do? Yeah, we can just revert the changes. Okay, connecting GA and consent dialog. I think we can push it. Commit and push. Did I not save something? Boom. And I'm just wondering, like, if I were to ask this mechanism, cursor AI, to make some tests for this mechanism, right? The consent dialog and Google Analytics initialization, how would these tests look like? Would these be like end-to-end tests or UI tests or integration tests or unit tests? Let's see what Cursor can suggest us. Based on initialization, based on what? Based on consent given. How would these tests look like? What kind of tests can you suggest? Okay. Ooh. Rewrite. Okay. So let's see. Types of tests to cover: unit, React component, conditional analytics. Okay. Initial render with no consent, renders nothing. Initial render with consent true, renders GA. Event. Okay. Frankly speaking, I don't know how to pronounce this word. Idempotency. Repeated same value events, no duplicate GA mounts. Cleanup, listener removed on unmount. Idempotency. Like, you have to excuse me, guys. Like, I need to go to translate Google. I need to know how.
Idempotency.
Idempotency. I need to know what that means. Idempotentness. Like, I don't even know the meaning of this word. Do you?
Idempotency.
Idempotency. Okay. Idempotency. Meaning. In the context of computer science and mathematics, refers to the property of an operation where applying it multiple times produces the same results as applying it just once. Okay. So this is like a smart way of saying apply a value twice and see what happens, right? Item potency. Item potency, item potency. Gotta remember this. Gotta add this to my vocabulary. People are going to freak out. What's item potency? I don't know. This guy's smart. Okay. Okay, example unit test. Unit test claro config callback in public config. Calling callback with true sets, windows, and dispatches event. Integration, end-to-end browser. Okay, maybe let's start with unit tests. By the way, these are going to be the first unit tests that or not I, but all in all introduced for this project. I know that I had to add unit tests before, but I kind of postponed it for later time. I guess this time has come. Yeah, we didn't even have Jest set up for the project. Yep. And it's an interesting thing, right? So, since some of the code can be executed both on API side and on inside of the browser, we can see these logs in both the node terminal, right? As you can see, analytics consent is false, not rendering Google Analytics component, and inside of the browser console. That's how it's supposed to be. But it's again, like, it was confusing for me a couple of days back. It's still confusing for me a little bit. Like, I can understand that some of the code based on, like, I don't know, React library, let's say inside of the use effect, can only run inside of browser. It's not going to run in Node. But then, I don't know the full picture. Probably I have to do this read offline, just to understand more about this application. So, okay, now it suggests npm I jest types. Oh. Okay, let's just run this. Is this running tests, or is this, well, we're not installing anything. Interactive djest types, jest, leaks memory, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so basically it installed something. This I is for install? Probably. Testing library just DOM. Okay. Now what? Okay, npm test silent. What's silent, I wonder? Interesting. Claro Google Analytics callback sets consent false and dispatches event. Wait, what? So he found a bug. Load Claro config. What is this? Oh, this is the test. So did he? He didn't change the config, did he? This is only the test. Chest config. Fire. Ah, this is just config. Okay, this is not config test or anything. Let's try it out. Okay. But what failed before? Cannot read properties of undefined. Edit jest and testing library setup. Wrote unit test for conditional analytics and Claro GA callback. Installed dev DevOps and ran tests to green. I think we'll have to do one more thing. So I think we can add this as marked and put this to done. Yep. What? Okay. We can also put this to done. Fix the amount of retries in worker. I think this was fixed. I don't write tests. Fix processed videos TTL. Okay. So let's just go through the changes. I want to read these tests. So where is this located? Okay, it's in the root. What does it say? Create jest config, next jest. Constant, custom jest config, test environment JS DOM, set files after. Okay, so I think we have 5 or 10 minutes in today's session. I just wanted to explain what's happening. What is this? What is this boilerplate code? The jest config tailored for Next.js. Okay, it wraps your custom settings with Next.js. So test to understand Next.js features. Okay. Require Next.js. Yeah, what's that? Bootstraps jest with Next.js defaults. Label config, Next.js config. Whatever. Create jest config. Okay. Points the wrapper at your project root so it can load Next.js config. Okay. Test environment JS DOM. Whatever. That makes a little sense. Runs tests in browser like DOM environment needed for React components. Set up files after env. Loads test helpers before each test. Testing library matches, mocks, module name mapper. So, again, maybe this makes sense for somebody who has experienced Next.js and Jest, and they know the internal workings of these two libraries. That doesn't mean much for me. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, I can just read this as some boilerplate code that, like, I don't know why this has to be written inside of my project. Set up files after env. Whatever. Module name mapper. Whatever. Why can't this be done inside of, I don't know, let's say Next.js library? Why use Next.js Jest? It merges your custom Jest config with Next aware defaults, transforms env, so you don't manually configure Babel. TS transforms for Next.js. Well, I understand it's needed for something, but this doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me. Okay, let's just concentrate on tests right now. Config test is what? Load Claro config, right? File system, read file in a synchronous way. Path join, okay. Current working directory, okay. Public config JS, okay. So basically, it reads config, Claro config, new function, return type Claro not on. What is this? What is this? Execute in a function scope and return the Claro config variable. Type of Claro config. So basically, it executes the code inside this file. Does he append something to the code that it executes? So basically, this is the Claro config, right? Where is it? No, not this one. Here it is, right? Then it basically puts a semicolon afterwards, and then it returns this expression, like return factory. Okay, is this factory used anywhere? Config. Let's read the tests. Before each window, Google Analytics undefined. Okay, so that kind of emulates a fresh browser or fresh tab start. So I'm thinking window is window per tab or per browser? That's the first question, and then the second question. Why do we append some code to Claro config? Okay, so anyhow, it executes like a callback sets consent true and dispatches event. All right. So what do? Consent config, load config, and then GA config services find Google Analytics constant spy jest function. What is this? Creates a mock function, optionally takes a mocks implementation. Window add listener spy. Okay. True. Main Google Analytics. Be true. Whatever. Okay, so window is per tab. Okay. So whatever we have to pass between tabs later on has to go either in cookies or with storage. Okay, cool. Config object since there's no module export. Okay, so basically this is some, again, boilerplate code. Window, Claro config, undefined. Okay, so basically the config works in isolation, right? This is just a variable that is not set anywhere. Probably in real production environment, Claro script somehow integrates this into the execution environment, and since Claro script is not part of this test, we have to do this manually, right? Return Claro config object since there's no module exports. ES export, avoid global pollution, and keep tests deterministic. So the appended code is just a return statement to retrieve the Claro config value after executing the plain script file. Okay. Okay. I like how he quotes appended code. Are you playing with me? Okay. So, okay. Explain the test flow to me. Because this is ultimately the first time I'm seeing a jest test scenario, and some of the things I can infer just from the code, or I can guess what's happening, but other things are very vague to me. I'll just let it explain. Test flow, public test, config test, setup. JS DOM environment is active. Custom event, polyfilled and test. What is this? Polyfilled. Setup. What the hell is polyfilled? Before each resets window, Google Analytics consent to undefined. Load Claro config. Okay. And spy on the events. Services. GA service. Alright, people, I think I'll finish up analyzing these tests later on. At this time, I'll just push it. I think we need another thing is to add a job in web application pipeline to run the tests. Cool. Right. At this point, I'll just assume that all the tests are working, and we'll just commit and push. Yep. With that said, thanks, and see you in the next one. Peace.